In this very important video, we're going to talk about development decisions that you have to consider in order to make your game as quickly as possible. Have you ever been making a game and you're like, this is fun, I'm doing great, this is absolutely amazing, I wish I could do this all day, but man, is it taking forever to actually launch? Well, guess what? You've entered what we call endless development. And it's totally fine, super normal. In fact, I'm extremely guilty of this. This happens for a ton of reasons, but I genuinely think it comes from the fact that we don't know how to end a development cycle. Sometimes we polish too early, we're missing game feel, we're still trying to figure things out, a lot of unnecessary content. There's a lot of redos that we do for no reason. There's a lack of standards or art direction. We don't really know what the user wants until we test it. There's just a bunch of problems. And my channel focuses on trying to make games as quickly as possible, and this stems from the fact that I made 2 games in 90 days. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and teach you guys what are the techniques and choices you must consider to make games quickly, right? But before we do, I really want to briefly talk about the history of my development career, just so that you truly understand where I'm coming from and why I'm teaching you these lessons today. First of all, before I even got into game development, I did a lot of things outside of game dev that were kind of related, such as making books, prototyping menus in PowerPoint. Don't ever do that, playing Little Big Planet too much. And I just realized that if you're not making a game, you will never make a game. And this sounds super obvious and very, standard, right? But this is going to be the number one message that will continue to ring over and over, and you'll see exactly why. Now, I did pick up Unity one day, and I said, hey, I really like Mega Man Star Force. I'm going to make a game out of that. And it was cheeks. But that's okay, because after I learned enough within a span of 4 months, I redid the entire project and focused on polishing it, meaning, hey, it's going to look better, it's going to feel good, this and that. But that was a very wrong decision because I didn't really know what a good game looked like. Nevertheless, I didn't even really know if my polish was good. In fact, I kept reiterating the art over and over and over again. And this took probably like 7 more months, right? So, like a big amount of time. Finally, after I decided, okay, well, I'm polishing too much, what if I just started all over again in an attempt to make a cleaner framework? You see, the problem with this premise is that how could I make something cleaner or better when I haven't even launched the game before? Like, I don't really know what I'm doing at this point. And so, this endlessness came from this one quote that I'm going to reiterate again. You'll never be able to make a game until you make a game. And I took that very seriously, to the point where I said, you know what? I have a lot of systems, I have a lot of art, I have a lot of things that I learned within like these couple of months of playing around with Unity. Let me just make a game. And so this is where DodgeKing was born. Originally, it was going to be a 2 month project that ended up coming out exactly in 90 days. And this entire project's goal was just, hey, can I make a game and launch it and also try to make money out of it, which wasn't necessarily the case, but that's a story for another time. The point is that I did this because I wanted to see what was necessary to, again, launch the entire game. And what happened was, after I launched DodgeKing, I realized, well, there's a lot of lessons that I learned, a lot of feedback that I got, and lessons that I can apply to my old game. And the problem is that it still didn't assess the major issue, which is putting a endpoint, which is what you need in order to make your game launch. You're just endlessly adding features. And it was really bad because I realized, hey, maybe my game is overscoped. Maybe there's just too many things going on. So I started all over yet again, attempting to make it in a 2.5D fashion. And this was short lived when I realized, wait, let me go back to the old engine and just put DodgeKing stuff inside to see how that would work. This is what the creation of DodgeKing Mini, which is just this little mini version of, hey, what if DodgeKing's mechanics were in my first game? And it was very fun, to the point where I realized, what if I made DodgeKing again? And this is where DodgeKing Deluxe was born. So, context, DodgeKing Deluxe is completely made from scratch. I just realized that I liked the mechanics that I previously had, but I decided to fix every single issue that the first DodgeKing had. And this is where the second sequel came out, right? This game was made exactly in 90 days. But if you realize, wait, that's another game that came out kind of quickly. What about the original one? You know what? Let me just like pause it and just straight up make another game in 3D. The whole question that I'm trying to get to is, why did DodgeKing, two of them, right? How did I make two of them in 90 days? But how did the game that I wanted to make actually end up in development hell? Answers are a bit shocking when you realize that, one, I like the game a lot, to the point where I kind of viewed it as a hobby, like it's like a stress relief. It was just like, I'm having fun with this, so I'd rather continue developing endlessly. I didn't know what the end looked like. I continued to redo the game from scratch. Like, what, it was 6 different attempts of me just making a game from scratch. That's a lot for something that has like a bunch of systems that were ready. And I'm just learning how to make games at this point with this project. In other words, I was aimless and undefined. And I spent about 1.5 years just developing something that to this day is not available. That being said, I realized I need to make better decisions. I need to make decisions that actually affect the ability to launch games quickly and more rapidly and actually get something out in the market. And so I realized, well, what did I do differently from my first game to DodgeKing? Well, guess what? I did the exact opposite. Fun fact, I didn't actually want to make DodgeKing, and treating DodgeKing as a job, as like, oh, well, it's not my game, but I'll work on it, whatever, had that intrinsic motivation to kind of like just finish the game as quickly as possible. Not only that, but what I did with DodgeKing is I wrote a roadmap, and the roadmap process is very interesting. All it is just a series of instructions to actually launch a game. I realized, well, DodgeKing is about a little knight who fights robots, and he's going to dodge, and he's going to be a couple of levels, and there's a lot of roguelike elements. How do I make that possible to launch? Okay, here's the possible systems that I need. Okay, here's the instructions to make those systems. Okay, here's all the characters that I'm going to add, all the bosses, all the rooms. And I realized, well, why don't I just literally make a sequential list from step 1 to 1296 and use that to make the game so that I can make this game as quickly as possible so that I can go back to my other game. And that's exactly what I did. I recycled a lot of systems. I knew what the end game looked like. I only spent like 2 to 3 hours per day working on it. I was acquiring game design experiences as I did it, and it was a great learning tool. But at the end of the day, I accidentally kind of just used this method to speedrun making games. And I was like, well, that being said, could I make my first game in like 90 days? I probably could if I applied the roadmap method and everything. So that being said, right, like I'm gonna teach you the decisions of like the techniques and choices that you also have to have in mind to make your games quickly, based off of the fact that making roadmaps is important and just treating game development as a job. That's the first choice you have to understand. Are you a hobbyist, or are you doing this because like you want to be commercial, you want to like have a lot of games out, you want to make a career out of this? That's a big choice, completely up to you. And the reason why I titled this choices is because you don't have to make the right choice, right? You can absolutely be a hobbyist and get all the goals that you want. You can absolutely use techniques that work. You can use your own techniques, but I want to bring awareness of what I've been using and what I've seen, what other techniques have worked for other developers as well. Number one, the GDD does not make the game. It organizes the design process and it gives you like all the brainstorming that you want, but it is the roadmap that actually makes the game. If GDD is the container of ideas, roadmap is literally the list of what you need to do to make it a reality. The problem with the roadmap is it's kind of skill based in the sense that you need to reverse engineer what your final game looks like, and you need to understand what games need. So you might need a settings menu, you might need pausing, you might need these controller rebinds, right? Like very technical things that you have to know by launching a game or just having experience of like what games require you to do. But then once you know what's important, you want to front load all of the dependencies. So the things that matter the most are the things you're going to do first, which are again like pausing, settings, menus, and then from there you start building your game so that the content and polishing can become easier later down the road. And this is the most effective way to approach it. Number two, asset pooling is like the key to fast forwarding anything. Asset pooling is just saying, hey, do you have code, art, music? Do you have anything that you have from previous projects or systems or game jams? Can you just like put that in your current game? And it might not be a one-to-one flexible modular, oh, like it's perfectly adaptable. No, you might have to repurpose it. But the repurposing process is like 20% versus like making it from scratch, right? So asset pooling is really good for fast forwarding your game. But more importantly, it's just a really unique tool that you should really consider no matter what. And again, the more you repurpose it, the better. So don't feel like it's literally copying and pasting when you literally have the ability to change things up. Number three, I think this is critical, helping others. When you are in the position where you can help others, you proactively give advice, you are reaching out to others to see what they're doing with their games, and you kind of want to see what you can say, you're basically, it sounds funny, you're kind of like using a riot shield where you're like, I'm going to give you guys advice to see if it works. Now, the advice I personally give are things that I have personally done. So I don't really like being a guru where I tell you guys what to do and not apply it. I'd rather apply it first and then teach you guys what I did. But the whole idea is that the more you're able to help others, the more of a pattern you're able to pick up with what works and what doesn't work. And so this is good because you're helping other developers test things that they want to try out. And then, you're being a person that can help, but also you're just learning way more because now you're learning at larger volumes because they're doing their hard part, but you're seeing what worked and what didn't, and then you're using those lessons on your behalf to make your own game. This is why I want to continue making this channel where I can just keep on making videos so that you guys don't have to do the mistakes that I made. Number four, powerful habits. Okay, there are always going to be things that you add onto your routine that will increase your productivity, your skill set, everything that you need, right? And as long as it adds value in a positive impact and it doesn't affect others in a wrong way, that is what I call a powerful habit. I made this video called Powerful Habits to Make Your Game Quickly, and it's a little bit controversial in the sense that I kind of went full hermit mode. I was saying no to hangouts. I'm like, no, in 90 days, you're not going to take me out of this room, basically, right? But you don't have to do every single thing that the video discussed. These are just things that you should be aware about to kind of min-max your time to make more games, but also just in general, always proactively improve no matter what. Number 6. I preach this so often. I would literally pause the video and like do a cool edit if I could, but literally deadlines is the number one tool you will ever have to do whatever you want to achieve in life. All right. But it's not, oh, I have a deadline coming up. No, it's respecting the deadline to the point where you feel like it's the biggest pressure in the world, that if you don't do it, you're going to blow up and all these bad things are going to happen. Like, you need to treat the deadline as if it were homework, right? Because like if you didn't do homework, you would get a bad grade and you might have to repeat class. Like, you don't want to do that, right? The concept with this is that if you had a homework assignment that's due in a week, you probably would procrastinate, but then like the last 2 days, you would sit down and do the actual homework assignment, right? This is no different than what Parkinson's law does. It just tells you, hey, you have a deadline, respect it, do what you got to do, and you'll be set. The crazy part of this, there's a high probability that we as developers develop out of leisure. In fact, that was the reason why my first game never really came out. I just made it for fun. It was a hobby. I didn't really like plan to make a commercial. I was like, oh, well, let's see what happens, right? And when you proceed this mindset of, oh, this is for fun, this is leisure, you don't take deadlines seriously. And that's the issue. So I want you to practice making deadlines, but also following them as if you didn't, the world was going to end. Like, you have to do it. All right. Number 7, the law of 3. And what this basically means is every single gameplay loop is always broken down to 3 major mechanics, and that those major mechanics have supporting systems that basically make up your game. This is how you reverse engineer any game and then make the roadmap out of it. You take the gameplay loop, then you take the 3 mechanics that compose the gameplay loop, and then every single system must directly support those 3 mechanics no matter what. I'm talking about the settings menu, the type of music that plays, the character designs that show up, things that might look arbitrary and don't really directly relate to the mechanic, but they will intrinsically one way or another. If you understand this and practice like reverse engineering games based off of this concept, making roadmaps becomes 10 times easier because now you know what is required for the game to actually finish. Number 8, controversial opinion. Hear me out. You need to make games and iterate the game. Like games, not the actual game itself, iterate games as a whole. Meaning I made DodgeKing 1, then I made DodgeKing Mini, then I made DodgeKing Deluxe, and honestly, maybe in the future I make a third one, you know what I mean? Because like, I only want to iterate by games because when you launch a game, you see the entire process that goes into it, meaning the marketing. Oh, when I launched, I had these deadlines that I respected. Oh, this is how I did my production. The actual game itself is fine. You can design it. You can do what you got to do. And you can take all the time in the world, make it 10 times good. That's fine. And that is important. But I do think that when you practice the act and the behavior of just launching over and over and over and over again, you start to build bigger skills that are outside of the scope of the actual development cycle that allows you to make better games, such as production, market awareness, and other factors to consider. The reason why this is controversial is because a lot of people will easily say, oh, you're putting slop on the market. And you know what? I think that's a good thing because slop is the introduction of you putting yourself in the market. Your first game, unless you're like really lucky, is probably not going to be a hit. It's probably going to struggle. You're probably going to learn a lot of hard lessons. You're probably going to like feel ashamed of like, oh my gosh, did I really like flunk that badly? But guess what? That's the point. You need slop so that you can evolve the slop into something cleaner. You can't make a clean game if something's already like not clean, right? You have to start from the dirty, start from the trenches, as they say, and polish as you go. Hey, my first game was slop, but my next one is good. My next one is even better. Now I'm making goated games. Like, you need to do that. And so not only that, but by taking that long mindset approach, you will recognize that this is a career. This is not let me try this once and see what happens. No, this is like, I'm going to dedicate time doing this. Therefore, every lesson I take and pick, I will continue to work on it vigorously to the point where I'm really good at this. This is where you become a good developer, and great developers make great games. Remember, you're never going to make a game if you don't make a game. So make one sloppy game. It's okay. People might dislike it. And guess what? Yeah, maybe other games start trending even more because by comparison, oh, this game's so bad, I want to play the good one only. That's okay. You need to start somewhere. That's the whole point. Start somewhere and then keep going. And over time, you'll realize, wait a minute, I'm consistent. I'm good. I'm getting better. Okay? Number 9, playtest early. Don't make your game and then playtest at the end and realize, oh my gosh, remember that jump button that has like a specific gravity? Yeah, it broke. Now I got to fix the jump button for every single enemy in the game. Oh yeah, there's like 200 enemies. I'm cooked. Always playtest as early as possible, even when the game is ugly. Which, by the way, point number 10, your game when it's ugly is the fastest way to make your game. Okay, if you make ugly games, you'll just speedrun the process because you're only focused on the functionality and just making sure that it mechanically works. If you focus on the polish, sure, it might look appealing at the beginning, but there's a lot of art decisions that get reiterated over time. You'll quickly see in this clip, my character has a black outline. For some reason that I really regret, I took out the black outline halfway during development, and then I had to go back to every character and remove that black outline, which means I had to redo animations, I had to redo mappings. It was terrible. I wish I would have left it because one, it looked better, but two, I didn't even have to do that when I needed to build the game mechanically, and then later I could have made that decision and it would have been 10 times better. But here we are. You have to make your game ugly, you have to make your prototype ugly so that you have your complete game and then you can polish it later. This is the speedrun trick of all time. Number 11. Do the boring work first. Like I said, you might be excited that, oh, I have this great game idea. It's gonna be goated. It's gonna be peak. We're gonna get game of the year with this one, guys. And then you realize, okay, the first 5 days, the first 2 weeks, the first month is you literally just like building the systems and the menus and the settings, and you're like, why can't I see my character do backflips yet? That sucks, right? And as a developer, you really want to see your characters come to life and do all these cool things, and ideally you want to do that early, but the first thing that needs to be done is the boring work. This is why I call it boring work, because it doesn't have to be boring. You can enjoy it. But the whole point is like, you're not seeing why you're making the game in the first place. You're just working on those like systems so that your vision can come to life later. You need to prolong the exciting part later, which is why it's called doing the boring work first, which kind of ties into the next part. You need to detach away from motivation. If you are always dependent on the emotional high of, oh, I'm excited to work on the game right now, then guess what? Maybe tomorrow you don't feel like that. Maybe in 90 days you don't feel like that at all. And the more you enjoy and like deal with the burden of boredom, you become a person that strives in any situation that you're placed at. So this is why I'm like exaggerating, like, hey, if it's boring, that's a good thing. Enjoy the boredom part, because once you actually finish the game, you're going to look back and say, oh, I'm so glad I finished. All right. Number 11, cut your distractions. Controversial, right? I would deny Hangouts. I would deny streaming. I would deny like a lot of extra things to make sure that I had more time to do what I have to do. We're all human. You can do any choice you want. You can hang out every single night out if you want. Like that's not an issue. It's completely up to you. I personally believe that if you want a life full of balance, you're going to have results that have balance. Sometimes we need to throw balance outside the window, and it might be for a temporary amount of time. But when you do that, you're allowing yourself to kind of double down on the things that you need to focus on. Remember, making a game, unfortunately, it's like a big deal, because now you have to make the game, you got to market it, you got to produce it, you have to let people know, you have to play test. There's way more things you have to worry about as a developer when making a game. So imagine that you just keep adding plates of other extra activities that don't even attribute directly to the game development itself. That would be a problem, right? So that's something to be aware about. Now, again, this means getting rid of doom scrolling, getting rid of things that are on your phone that you probably shouldn't have, like a lot of other issues as well. But like I said, completely up to you. If you think that you need to hang out here, or if it's totally fine to go out tonight, that's fine. If you know there's like a road trip that's going to take 2 weeks and you guys got to fly to the other side of the world, and if you don't want to make that commitment, that's also your choice. Completely up to you. Again, choices. It's up to you. Design worksheets. 12. Design worksheets actually help a lot. So I have a couple of worksheets scattered around my channel. I will try to link them all down below in the description here. And long story short, I really think that they're great on brainstorming your ability to build a game. There are other worksheets and other references and guides of how to design your game online. Definitely check them out. But this is a very efficient way to organize how your roadmap gets built, because once you actually know what you're designing, it becomes 10 times easier to build, right? So I really believe in the power of like organizing your ideas first before you do anything. And that's why I'm saying, hey, number 12, make sure that you actually like design your game ahead of time. Number 13, if you have the ability to delegate work, do it, all right? Don't feel ashamed about it. Indie dev doesn't mean you're by yourself. It actually means you're dependent on everyone. So you have to kind of like reach out, talk to artists. Maybe you need a composition person that makes music. There's a lot of options that you're going to have. You might do everything on your own, and that's absolutely goated if you can. And if not, no shame in that, because guess what? We're always working with each other. Number 14, always keep marketability inside your mind, which basically means, is my character easy to understand? Is my game's concept easy to communicate? Can I get to the point super quickly so that I can communicate something that's interesting. If I said, oh, my game is like this really complicated genre and it has like these really complicated things, and if it doesn't spark that interest because it's difficult to explain, you're going to have a hard time marketing your game. Now, if it's kind of like simple, easy to capture, it looks cool, there's a whole conversation about this, which is like, the whole core of what marketing even looks like at the first place. That's for another discussion to have, but just always make sure that whatever you're designing, make sure that it can be clearly communicated so that it becomes easier to market. Number 15, I think, is what we call internal steam, or what Masahiro Sakurai says as internal pressure, which means you have to literally frustrate yourself to the point where you don't tell anybody what you're going to do. Because by you telling somebody what you're going to do, you are basically rewarding your brain like, oh, like I did this, like I'm gonna do this, or like I feel really good about it. And so you give this relief because you said it. And because you said that relief, suddenly the pressure that you had to actually like get the work done kind of just lowers down. And what happens with that is that you start to like realize that you start working slowly. And I don't want to use the word motivation, but technically like you just lose that like that power to keep going through these things. You would be very surprised that through frustration, you're able to make a lot of progress because hey, if the only way to let people know about my game is finish my game and put it out there, and then I can talk about it freely, then that is technically a motivator to make the game, right? And I just think it's a really interesting concept because I've seen time after time that the more quiet you are about how you approach your projects, like if you don't tell people exactly what you're going to do, you're more likely just to like flow through it way more rapidly. And this is just like another speedrun technique that I personally use that worked a lot. Finally, experience. Like I said earlier before, you're not going to make a game if you don't make a game. And if you actively make progress that is like really good, you're effectively trying to sharpen your skills, you're trying to get as good as possible, you will end up in the position where you say, you know what, I'm becoming a better developer by the day. The summary of everything that I'm trying to get to is that whether it's a decision you're going to take, whether it's techniques you want to use, whether you want to speed run, whether you actually just want to like slow down, make it, make game development as a hobbyist and like really take it easy, be the best developer possible. That's all I'm asking you to do. And the reason why is because you can make the greatest game ever. And that's fine. But you can only make the greatest game ever if you are a great developer. I believe that the most important asset in any game, it's not the art, it's not the music, it's not the programming, it's the developer, because it is the developer that pushes their will into the game. And if you are a weak developer, if you're someone that struggles through a lot of problems, if you don't know how to make these decisions, if you are struggling with design, if you don't know how to implement these things, these are the things that you need to fix in order to become not only a better developer, but also one that has the ability to say, you know what, I'm going to make this game. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be super good. And then you become goated. So really just focus on being the best developer possible. With that being said, thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. And there's just one more thing I'm going to say. Recently, I've been working with developers to make their own games within 90 days or less. And here's a couple of them. Soul Engine Studio is currently making this game called Prepare the Past, which is a 2.5D Pokemon Snap game. He made the Steam page within 20 days, but he finished his prototype in 26 days. He has a bunch of devlogs on his channel, but more importantly, you can go to Steam right now and wishlist it because the game is about to come out. That's Prepare the Past on Steam. I'm also working with SoDev, who's working on this horror multiplayer social ambush game. Basically, imagine this scary roguelike where you're watching your friend do their run, but as a spectator, you're responsible for dropping the monsters and obstacles to ruin your friend's run. It's really ridiculous how this entire multiplayer game, all the functionality and everything already works, and the prototype was completed within 32 days. You see, what I'm trying to communicate is I am making this service called FastForwardMyGame, where I basically talk to developers and we make a plan full of action and everything on how to make a game within 90 days. You can sign up for the newsletter absolutely for free, where we do a monthly cadence of updates on the channel and some behind the scenes secrets, but you can also book a call where I can give you coaching on game design aspects or just, ways to solve certain issues to speedrun your game. Or if you're brave enough, I can actually just go ahead and make a roadmap for you. Now, be careful with this because I will keep you accountable until the game comes out. That being said, process is super simple. You book a call with me, and then we have a conversation within an hour or two. I ask you a bunch of questions, and then we assess all the problems and solutions. From there, I give you a practical plan on how to speed up your game, make a efficient game, and I will continuously, hold you accountable, basically, right? And lastly, I just want to say, I just came back from GDC, and I just really want to show the gratitude that I have for this community. You guys are absolutely amazing. You made this GDC super cool for those that I was able to meet in person. And yeah, I really like making these videos. I want to make stronger developers. I want to keep making these videos for you guys. If you're interested in working with me, check the link down below. If not, I just really hope that this video has served you and that you learned something very important. As usual, I hope that we can continue speeding up our process together, and I really hope you have a wonderful day.